Hello, this is Randy with H&R Enterprise. Just wanted to show you a little bit today of how these units come when they're crated up and shipped to you. They're first brought to you, of course, typically wrapped up in a cardboard box if it's not ripped off or blown off. But typically they're in a nice angle iron frame, and they're all completely wrapped up in plastic, as you're seeing here. And we've taken this one out of the plastic, pulled a couple parts aside. You can see the angle iron frames that was over on them, some of the wrapping, and there's the rack. So we'll give you a few pointers here as we progress and show you just how the unit is assembled, how easy it is, and how it typically comes to you. Alright, we're ready to pick back up. We've done a little bit of unwrapping here for the last maybe 10 minutes, and just wanted to point out a few things. This is also for your information, a Rider 8 125 cc with forward and reverse gear. And we've got done unwrapping it, taking things out, and I'll show you some of those things. Just to point out here, the rear rack, and we've got the mounting brackets. I think this is actually a rear rack for another unit here, or maybe this is the front rack, excuse me. We've also got the front push bar. We've got the battery trickle charger, the battery, the rubber hub covers. We've got the warranty papers and the DVD disc here, which also gives you some instructions. Just the Safety Institute, ATV Safety Institute brochure. You got some nuts and bolts to put things together, the key tag with the kill button switch, some reflectors, the battery tie down rubber strap. We've got brackets here that will hold the handlebars in place. I'll point out the gas cap, and we've got additional install process instructions and an owner's manual, and also the flag. Alright, and just to show you, point out a few things a little closer up. These handlebars, everything's completely already installed on them. They just get spun over into position and clamped down with the clamp brackets that I showed you. As you can see, the gas tank doesn't have the cap. That cap gets put on. It was covered with tape to keep any debris out of it. Just to kind of give you a little close-up of the motor and the foot brake. Notice here on the front hubs, the tie rod end, it's cable tied that gets cut. And these hubs, all they simply do, it looks maybe more complicated than it is, they just get spun around, and this tie bolt underneath of it with the nut, it goes into this socket and into place. And that's all that happens there, and the same on the opposite side. And also just to point out, this is the front tire, and they just pop out of place. And as you can see, you want to take the castle nut and cotter key out and the washer, and you can slide the rear tire and hub assembly on, and that'll happen on both sides. Still have a little wrapping around the mono shock there at the rear. But basically that's the extent of that. Like I say, we've unwrapped everything, and we're going to continue on to the next segment just to give you an idea of how the Rider 8s are assembled. Alright, we're going to pick up here. As you can notice, I've pulled the handlebars up into place, and we've put the two brackets on. They're number 10 millimeter head. You can use a simple socket and ratchet like I've got here, or a wrench. And usually what I do is I'll put these, there's a lower bracket here, and then the upper bracket that goes around the handlebars, and I'll usually just set them in place and just start the bolts in, and then I can adjust these a little bit back and forth before I tighten them down or even get them close. They they do have splines in them to hold them in place, so you don't want to strip those off by holding it down, pulling it down too tight. But I've just got them temporarily set, and then we'll do some final adjustments and adjust the throttle and brake position sensor. I've also taken the time to lift the rear end up and put it on a jack. As you can see, I've got just a simple jack here. I've left it in the angle iron frame here, so I haven't picked it up out of it yet. Just picked it up, set the jack underneath. And as you'll see, you'll want to take the cotter keys out and the castle nuts and the washer off, and you'll be able to easily slide the rear wheels into place. And once you've done that, then you'll be able to remove this jack out and go to the front and proceed. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, we're back on the wheels and tires. And I didn't know if you could see, but I've got the nut and the washer and the castle nut on and the cotter key in, and it's ready for the rubber cover that goes over the hub there to put on. I haven't put on, and I figured I'd show you a little closer to the other side. There's the tire setting and ready. So basically you just want to spin it to put it in place and then slide it in. And I just wanted to show you the assembly directions. You put the thin washer on. It's got kind of a rim around the edge of it. That's what actually the rubber axle cover slips over. Then you put a washer and the castle nut. And these castle nuts, you do not need to tighten these down. Pull them up snug, and then turn them one. You can see that. Let's see here. You can see the hole. I'll turn them one notch past. Okay, we got the cotter key in. You want to bend it up in place there and push it back, and then you're ready for these rubber hubs then to slip over. And like I say, it's actually catching on the washer in the back. So that's the extent of that, and I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the hubs on and completing the front wheels. Alright, we've completed the rear wheels, putting them on. If you've noticed, I've taken the stand out from the back, and you need to roll the unit forward a little bit because of the little stands it's setting up on the axle. Also, I didn't point out, these are also wired down to this frame. You have to cut that wire loose when you pick this up. And I might just take a quick time here too to point out a few tools that we have used. Use a box cutter to cut all the cardboard away and strapping, plastic and tape, those kind of things. The wire cutters was just for what I mentioned, the wire that's holding the rear axles down to the angle iron frame. And we've got a 1/4 inch metric socket set and a 12 and a 14 wrench, and you might use some others, or a pair of vice grips, which is what I used on the nuts to hold the rear wheels and to tighten them down. And the impact driver comes in handy, especially when you're taking the frame apart, the angle iron frame. There's about, maybe 7, 8, I suppose there's about 8 bolts that holds that frame together. Alright, we're going to move on now to the front wheel hub. And I just wanted to show how it goes in place. Basically, you want to bring the spindle around in place, and you want to drop the stud. So just move it until it adjusts, and it's ready to fall in. And then you take the castle nut that I took off previously, put it in place, and you'll want to draw it down. I'm not going to take the time because I haven't got 2 hands I need to spare to tighten it up. Tighten it up and put your cotter key. And you want to put it in place and then bend the cotter key. And from that, you've got the front spindle place. You'll want to take these 4 lug bolts out to be ready to mount the wheel. And you can kind of see here too how this hub is put on. You got the rim nut and nut, but you don't even need to worry about this. Kind of how the rear wheel is put together too. But you don't have to worry about putting this together. Just take the lug nuts off and then be able to slide the front tire on and put the lug nuts or the lug bolts back in place. Okay, while we're back on the front wheel, I had to do a few things. It took 2 hands. Just wanted to show you that we did put the castle nut on and put the cotter key through, and we used a number 17 millimeter wrench. Now we took the front lock bolts out, and it takes a number 13 socket. We use this little impact because you don't have the lock bolts or the lug bolts are in tight, and it's hard to hold the spindle in place with one person because it wants to spin. But with an impact gun, it pops them right out and you don't have to worry about that. And basically then we can tighten them right back up. You want to make sure you go around a pattern. If you noticed how I was doing it, I started with the one on the top. Doesn't really matter which one you start with. I didn't bring it clear up. I brought it up, and then I went to the bottom, and then I went to the left, and then I went to the right. And you want to continue that series around twice, and you want to bring them down to proper tightness there.